Hi everyone, here's what's bothering me today. There is a story coming out of Texas that isn't really gaining much traction outside of Texas, and that's what's bothering me today. This story comes from the Texas Tribune, and it's about how Texas lawmakers are poised to pass sweeping voting bill to restrict voting hours and change election rules. Apparently, the State House and the State Senate reached a deal on competing versions of Senate Bill 7. And then once both of these chambers signed off on the agreement, it's going to the governor, I think it's Governor Greg Abbott down there, for his approval. Here's the problem with the bill. Well, actually, before we even get into the problems with the bill, all these negotiations were behind closed doors. And the reason why a quote-unquote compromise had to happen is because both the House and the Senate produced radically different versions of the bill. Now, initially, it was just, and I can't believe I'm having to say this as if, it's only that. It was just to limit local elections and to curtail voting options. But now it's comprehensive sweeping voting reform that is all but voter suppression. The final version of Senate Bill 7 as it stands will cut back early voting hours, it will ban drive-thru voting, it will further clamp down on voting by mail rules and enhance access for partisan poll watchers, and it now includes various additional rule changes that weren't part of each chamber's previous debate on the bill, adding new identification requirements for mail-in ballots, and they're expected to if not, they've already signed off on it and sent it to Governor Greg Abbott for approval. So, the reason why they decided to go so hard on this is because of a county, a specific county in Texas called Harris County. Now, during the last general election, Harris County implemented a 24-hour early voting and early voting sites that allowed voters to cast ballots from their cars. And this proved incredibly popular among voters who happen to be people of color. And so as these two different, legislative assemblies tried to compete for a different version, what's ultimately resulted is a massive, massive bill that is specifically just legalizing and enshrining voter suppression. It's drastically expanding the powers of partisan poll watchers. It's making it much harder for people to vote, and it prevents local voting options from being expanded upon. It makes it more constrictive. Oh, and get this. Senate Bill 7 also makes it a state jail felony for local officials to proactively send mail-in ballot applications to voters who did not request them. Which again, this is all just targeting Harris County because Harris County, that one that opened the 24-hour drive-in voting, Harris County was also one of the counties where they attempted to send mail-in ballots to all 2.4 million residents in order to ensure that everyone's democratic voice was heard. To broadly sum up, those who are most passionate about democracy in Texas are being punished by the state for it. This also indirectly, by making it so that you can't send in these ballots. It also makes it harder for third-party groups to get any kind of funding to do those sort of get out the vote campaigns and canvassing. This really is only scratching the surface. There's even language in here that would make it harder for people, who are immunocompromised, disabled, anything like that to vote. They would have to basically prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that they need a mail-in ballot. There's also language in here that says that people need to have a running tally of voter lists and they can't exceed what the number of eligible voters in a county is supposed to be, even though, again, people constantly enter, leave, and move from counties all the time. This is really just scratching the surface about how terrible and draconian this legislation is, and it is all to punish counties like Harris County for having the audacity to believe in democracy and make it accessible for their own residents. This is the state of Texas talking about election integrity when really it's about punishing democracy. And the fact that I, a Canadian, am the one talking about this and trying to bring this to more people's attention while the state claims to love all this freedom and democracy despite actively opposing it and trying to crush it under their authoritative heel, that's what's bothering me today.